Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 4. In this video, we want to explain and present about language and gender. Before we start our presentation video, I want to introduce my group members. There are me, Atika, Anggela, Putri, and my friend Candra, Bayu, Pamungkas. Okay, let's begin the presentation. The first presentation will be delivered by me. Sociolinguistics places the position of language in relation to the use of that language in society, so that it views a language as a social system and a communication system. The definition of language itself is a tool that humans use to communicate with each other in everyday life. In society, there is often confusion and misunderstanding of the terms gender and sex. The two terms actually have different meanings. According to Nugroho, gender is differentiation of the roles of women and men in which social and cultural constructs are formed. So it's not due to constructs that are carried from birth. If sex is something that is born from birth, then the gender is something that is formed because of an understanding that grows and develops in society. Gender is a range of characteristics used to distinguish between males and females, particularly in the case of men, women, and the masculine, feminine attributes assigned to them. In Webster New Word Dictionary, gender is defined as the visible difference between men and women in terms of values and behavior. Gender is a concept used to identify differences between men and women in terms of socio-cultural influences. Gender is defined as a mental and cultural interpretation of the gender differences between men and women. Language and gender itself is an area of study within sociolinguistics applied in linguistic and related fields that investigates varieties of speech associated with a particular gender or social norms such gendered language use. There are several language differences between men and women, including in phonology, morphology, and diction or in grammatical. The first is in terms of phonology. There are some differences between men and women in phonology, such as in Scotland. Most women use the consonant t in the words cut, nut, water, and so on. Meanwhile, men more often change the consonant t with the non-aspirated glottal consonant. The next is morphology. In the field of morphology, according to Lakoff, women often use words for colors such as mauve, beige, aquamarine, and lavender, which are rarely used by men. In addition, women also often use adjectives such as adorable, charming, lovely, and sweet. The next is diction. Judging from the diction, women have a certain vocabulary to show certain effects on them. Words and phrases like so good, adorable, darling, and fantastic. In addition, English makes certain word differences based on gender, such as actor and actress. waiters and waitresses, and also Mr. and Mrs. Besides gender differences, there are also differences in sex. Uh, there certainly are sex differences in word choices in various languages. For example, in Japan, for Japanese women show they are women when they speak. For example, by the use of a sentence final particle ne or another particle wa. In Japanese too, a male speaker refers to himself as boku or are, whereas a female uses watashi or atashi. Next is the relationship between language and gender. The relationship between language and gender can be realized in three kinds of relationship according to Cradle and Joan. The first relationship is language reflects gender division. The use of language is sensitive to life patterns and interaction patterns so that it's indicated that differences in social experiences between men and women have certain effects on language behavior. Thus, language is seen as the reflection of society. According to Gretel and Joan, linguistic differences are merely a reflection of social differences, and as long as society views men and women differently and unequally, the differences in the language of men and women will continue to exist. The next relationship is language creates a gender division. This view implies that language has an important role in the construction and preservation of gender division. The way language is used in various contexts of social life can project biases about men and women, which by implication define the expected social roles of men and women. This forms an opinion that the language and discourse in which humans are involved can shape personality and social life. The speakers can learn the distinction or categorization that are considered important in certain cultures when studying their linguistic distinction. The last relationship is language and social structures influence each other. This idea shows how non-linguistic mechanisms are supported by linguistic features to maintain gender divisions. For example, it can be seen how language reproduces traditional concepts of femininity and masculinity.
Well, so I will explain this part. This part explain about deficit, dominance, and difference. Those are a theory or approach that explain the difference male language and woman language. First one is deficit. Is an approach established by Lakov 1975 that introduced woman language as classified by linguistic trend in woman speech. This approach created a dichotomy between woman language and men's language. So, the point of this statement is dividing between male language and woman language based linguistic. Lakov said that women higher in using linguistic than men because the women have feeling to express the idea perfectly than men. Second one is dominance. So dominance is an approach where the female sex is seen as the subordinate group Thus difference in style of speech result from male supremacy and also possibly an effect of patriarchy. The last is difference. Difference is an approach of equality, differentiating men and women as belonging to different subcultures as they have been socialized to socialhood. This then results in the varying communicative style of men and women. So, dominance and difference are almost same point that explain the higher male language than woman language. Dominance based social root and difference based historical. Also, there are several concepts that explain it. First one is so for 1000 years the traditional concept of man outside, woman inside has dominated people, and men are seen as the dominator of the status and power. And another concept is in China there is concept that explain it. So the duty of woman is just care their baby and serve their husband. And the last concept is how men and women interact with their group, and the men have more dominance because they have a lot of language or style that used in their group, and the woman more than imitate man language. So from those a theory or concept, it can conclude that women imitate man language because there are several reasons. The first one is the difference level, status, and how they interact with the other in the group and serve their husband. And the last concept is how men and women interact with their group, and the men have more dominance because they have a lot of language or style that used in their group, and the woman more than imitate man language. So from those a theory or concept, it can conclude that women imitate man language because there are several reasons. The first one is the difference level, status, and how they interact with the other in the group. So in this part, explain about the difference manner of style language for men and women, and there are several difference between men and women in manner of style. So I will explain one by one. First is women talk too much because women think that talk is not just giving expression or something that one share, but women assume talk is activity to amuse themselves, and it's different with men. They just talk that he need because men assume talk is must have a clear purpose, and talk too much just waste their time. Second, women more tend to bring the emotion when she talk and make their utterance or expression well or attractive. For example, they using extremely attractive words to express their feeling to something. Example like, wow, it's fantastic. They use fantastic to express their feeling about something. So besides they talk expressive, they assume using emotion when they express is just amuse them and to express their feeling. But it's different with men. Men tend not bring emotion because they think bring emotion is too much and awkward. The next is the men adopt a competitive style while women adopt more cooperative way. That is, when men and men have a conversation, they tend to compete on the topic of communication or conversation, being discussed, such as in terms of work, hobbies, relationship status, or simple things such as clothing taste. In conversation between men in general, they often highlight their strength, knowledge from work and hobbies. It is different with women who prioritize cooperation in having conversation. That means that when women have a conversation, they use more deep feeling when responding to the other person when the conversation is taking place. Next is women are polite because there is social rule that bound them and they must be more polite than men. If women aren't polite, it will exist social punishment in their group such as derision. It's different with men because there is no social rule that bound them. Usually, men then aren't polite and insult each other frequently. Men think insult each other its way to make closer friendship. Okay, so I will explain the topic for women and men. First one is gossip. Gossip is interesting topic for women because they think gossip is like great news. It must be discussed or shared with the other. Usually, the woman will talk about gossip from their woman friend because they want to look better than the other and they don't like their friend. Second is man. Man is important topic or common topic to discuss in woman group because man is coupled to accompany their life, so the woman make sure the man that wanna be their couple is good. So usually they talk about the character of man that she like. The third is shopping. Shopping is like habit for women because shopping is a part in they map in their brain. Because shopping is like habit they do in every day, almost every day, and the woman think shopping it can relate their bad mood or something like uh, feeling bad mood, I mean, because they have problem in their life. The next is child rearing. This important topic also because this topic relate with their duty in the future, so they must prepare what what gonna do in the future, and it's important to discuss in their group. The last is personal relationship. Yeah, if we talk about woman is always bring emotion or responding with deep feeling. So this topic I mean relate with there because woman can give advice for the other because they more wise than men. Move in men's topic, there are several topic for men. First one is film. Film is important topic because they will be a father for their child, so they must be prepared for their future, and film is one of them. Usually if the men talk about film, they will talk about how to looking for a job. Second is sport. Sport is like film that is so important for men because sport is activity they do in every day, and sport is like their life, so it's a good topic for men. Yeah. And the third is woman. Woman is couple to accompany the man's life. So if the man talk about woman, the man will talk about how to looking for a good woman who have a good looking or good attitude and extra, because the woman will be a wife for men to accompany their life. Politic is interesting topic for men because politic is news that are showing in the television or newspaper in every day. So they think if they talk about politics, they can develop their mindset to analyze that happen in their country. The last is cars. Car is like their hobbies. They like cars because they drive in every day, and usually if the men talk about cars, they will talk about how to change the paint of their cars, of the machine of their cars. I mean, yeah, I think it's enough for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.